So you have these different segments. Do you find that depending upon what segment the branded entertainment falls into, that there is more or less engagement? Is that a general kind of trend? Some that are historically always less engaged, some that are usually historically more engaged.
Right, right. No, well, there's two levels. One is at the most basic level. The different 18 different levels have been designed or are correlated so that they actually tease that out. Something that's passive and just sitting in front of a custom character on the screen, for example, everyone uses the Pepsi can or the Coke can in Idle, whichever it is. And our neuroscience tells us that there's an orienting response, so about 5 or 6 seconds it takes to make that conscious. But after that kind of fades away into nothingness over the time of course of the show. It becomes invisible, basically. So that obviously has a low impact. It's very passive. It's just sitting there. Yes, it has an initial response, but it really fades quickly. When you start to get to the levels of using the product in a very natural fashion, again, all of this organic, seamless stuff is true. This comes from aesthetics theory, where you're trying to tell a story. That's what ads do so well. And you can actually do that now with this broad palette of content, tell a little story. That has a great impact on consumers, and it's engaging, and it's being implicitly and explicitly captured in memory and processed as such. I mean, that's really what we've done over the years, is take these tidbits of science and research and fashion this to be able to capture that low impact to high impact engagement, if you will. Another one is audio and visual presentation. I mean, it's very clear from science that audio signals, so saying the brand, is really captured in a different part of the brain than seeing the brand. So saying and seeing working together is much more powerful than one or even the other. So all things like, I mean, it can go on and on. There's 18 different characteristics. They're all actually fashioned and have research behind kind of the reason that we rank them that way and the scoring that goes behind it.
And with the biometrics aspect of it, I was wondering how that could be used as part of the predictability. Really, does increased heart rate imply or result in greater engagement? Wouldn't you get that from your segments? How does that add to your offering?
And it just gives a little more depth and specificity, so we can run a target sample, let's say, and see if there's a difference between millennials and older folks like myself in terms of their response physiologically. And actually, when something is engaging, your heart rate goes down, according to neuroscience. So yes, you can see that sort of thing. But also, we can start to look at the engagement or the emotional version of measuring engagement, like Interscope and other firms do, between ads and branded content. Is there a priming effect? Does the ad prime the response later in the show, or the other way around? I have a feeling it's both ways, but we don't really know until we do the research. That's partially what that industry study is going to hopefully bring, that kind of those findings out forward.
So there's a lot of talk about biometrics and how important heart rate and I guess eye tracking and the amount of times you sweat or other forms of biological reactions to media. How does that really work, and what kind of insights can you really get? Are there truisms that when everybody's heart rate slows, it means this, or?
That's a good question, of course, and I know there's a lot of examination of it. It is a scientific measurement of psychophysiological response. So it is. I don't necessarily think it results in truisms, but it results in a physical measurement of or being engaging with stimulus, which is the media content. So that's one piece. Right now, biometrics is giving input or results on dimensions of emotions. It's not saying specifically this is fear, anger, blah, blah. There are other firms that are doing that sort of thing in a much more psychologically oriented way, with these big classification systems, the wheel of emotions and things like that. That's a separate thing. But what I think neuroscience has helped a lot in, and maybe it's going to be its major contribution, and then these measurements will just become other perspectives on emotion and emotion to media, is that it has opened our eyes to the fact that there is an unconscious emotional side to all of advertising and brand entertainment as well, that it's changed the paradigm, or at least it's given the research to support to change the paradigm of, it used to be think, feel, do. That was the big, that's how advertising works too. It's really now, you feel first, you immediately have an unconscious reaction to things. Then you maybe think after a few seconds, then you might feel again, you might think. It's almost like a big continuous thing before you actually do something. And then the doing is also now, what we're seeing, is impacted by many other things as well, outside factors and, the state of the economy. That's where the models get into place. So it's opened up our eyes into that particular area that helps us now understand, what's happening, so to speak, when people look at ads or watch or see the branded content. So the actual measurements that we get, I should say, the eye tracking, the heart rate, the skin conductance, even the facial movements, that again, that's going to be additional support or validation or measurement of this emotional part of how we deal with things. And I think the companies that are able to do a multitude of things, not just have one magic device that you put on your wrist or on your head, but are able to do multiple methods and bring them into one package and be able to maybe even create new metrics from that. But that's going to be where it's really useful. So firms like Interscope are doing that. The Prime Lab is doing that. There's a number of companies that have evolved to that stage. They're not just saying, "Oh, this is the magic bullet, measure the brain," kind of thing. So that's the other side of it.